Hello everybody, welcome back to your Tuesday afternoon fix of everything Manchester United and more today. We're going to get into it. This is Adam Talks. Welcome to the United Stand, everybody. We have got a ton of stuff to talk through. We are going to get into detail on what is going on at Manchester City and how that affects not just us, but other top six clubs as well. And let's be fair to the other teams in the Premier League, them as well. Because there's a lot going on and a lot of statements coming out right now. We're going to read through them. We're going to get your thoughts on them, get your comments in below. This is an interactive show. And joining us on that, we've got Ricky, back fresh from a little break. How was your little holiday?
Oh, fantastic, good? Mate. Yeah, it was a lad. He's a friend of my son's, really, and it was his stag do. Oh, 40-odd lads there.
Ricky's on a stag do,
40-odd lads there, including at least half a dozen of my age, so it was fine.
Where did you go?
Tenerife.
Oof.
Brilliant.
Oh, Ricky's in Tenerife on the lash. I wish we could all do that, mate. Anyway, but back to football matters. Rick, we've got plenty to talk about. Obviously, we'll go through Eric Ten Hag's press conference. I did that show earlier on. A few injury concerns. We'll look ahead to the Leeds game and everything. But a lot has happened this week, Rick. And for once, news coming from Manchester, it's not about Manchester United. It's about the blue half, Rick, and all of this news that came out regarding City being charged by the Premier League, effectively. 115 counts of misconduct, or however you want to describe it. It's bad news for Manchester City. The Premier League seem confident enough with their side of things. How do you see it? I mean, it's hard to discuss or know where to start, Rick, really, with it, but it came a bit of a, pardon the pun, a bit of a bolt from the blue.
Bolt from the blue, yeah. Yeah, like you say, you don't know where to start. First things first, obviously, City, something happened before, didn't it, with UEFA? They got a ban and then they got that overturned, and obviously they can afford the best lawyers in the world and plenty of them. So I've got to say that there's a lot of hard work for Premier League to do to make this stick still, I think.
I mean, they cannot this time, you mentioned the UEFA sanction there, it's like they cannot this time go through the court of arbitration with this
correct.
One. Yeah. That's the difference. This is a completely different scenario, it would seem, right now. I mean, it goes back 12 years, Rick.
Yeah, I still think their lawyers are going to make a great case for them, though. It doesn't mean, I'm not saying that, I realise that they can't appeal, but it's still not over and done with. It's not, the case hasn't been proved yet, has it?
No.
It should be proved, but like I say, when you've got that much money and that many great lawyers, you never know.
That's it. I mean, what it is, how they've done it, what they've done to cook the books as such, as you say. There's a few phrases you can use in the trades and different trades, didn't they? But effectively, they've bent the rules, and that's what's riled the Premier League.
Allegedly.
Almost
certainly.
We'll keep it at that. We'll keep it at that. It's just strange that the Premier League have come in so strong with this. It's like one of the sides is going to come out of this with egg on the face, Rick. I think a lot of the league, a lot of the fans probably want it to be Manchester City. Obviously, City fans right now are going, we've been down this road before. We did it with UEFA, we got away with that. They've got away with a lot. A lot of fans looking at this would go, well, it's about time someone actually did slam the book down on City. Is it going to be the Premier League? I mean, looking at what City's achieved in that time, it's monumental, Ricky. It really is.
Absolutely. Obviously, the Premier League know that they've got a great case. They're confident they've got a great case, and I'm confident they've got a great case. All I'm saying is that the best lawyers in the world can fight these things. That could happen, but let's be honest. If you just Rick the Red from Manchester or some ordinary football fan, it's fairly obvious to you that they've been doing something wrong. Let's be honest. They were a no disrespect to any City fans watching, but they were a nothing club, and then suddenly they get these owners in, and they've been spending £100 million on players, £80 million, £50 and £60 million, like it used to be 100 grand or something. Do you know what I mean? The amount of money they've spent on transfers, and obviously the wages that brings with that. How can they possibly justify that? And then they might say, obviously. The rumours are that they've cooked the books with people that are sponsoring them and the amount of sponsorship that they get. But City didn't used to command sponsorship deals like that. Why would these sponsors suddenly,
appear out of thin air?
Why would they suddenly command these figures? It's to me it's fairly obvious, but proving it in a court might be a different thing.
I'll read through the statement that's come out today, actually, regarding the other clubs. But super chat in from Black Wolf says City should buy Maguire and start him as CDM as punishment or McFred midfield. We like the little jokey comments in there as well, guys. But yeah, let's just go through the detail of what's happened today. Obviously, the news broke yesterday on Sky. So, a statement today from Kaveh Selikoff from Sky Sports News has said, the clubs who have been pressing hardest for action until Monday were some other members of the so-called Big Six, so the big clubs. There is a feeling that taking away City's titles, respectively, would be meaningless and cause confusion, but a fine is also not likely to have the same effect, or not likely to have enough effect for the other clubs looking in on this one. I mean, if you feel hard done to, you're obviously going to want the book thrown at whoever it is you feel has bent the rules, don't you? I mean, the Big Six, obviously, I think Jurgen Klopp has bemoaned City's spending power and the unfairness of it and stuff like that. You've even seen the way that Newcastle's owners have come in recently and not gone as crazy as you'd expect them to do with their wealth. They've been very steady and I think very responsible with their spending about who they've brought in. It's been a bit structured, whereas, like you said, City's was gun-ho. I remember the time when they nearly bought about 15 players in one summer. I think it was crazy. Or how they've balanced the books, I think, is what's being discussed there. I mean, can you see why the other clubs would be so knocked off?
Well, obviously, it's obvious why the other clubs are knocked off, because they're being outpaced by a club who have simply got an investment in them that's helping them to do that. The thing you mentioned about the possible penalties, taking the trophies off them, I'm not too sure I'd want them to go down that route. Or if they took them off them, I saw somebody put a statement out there that I think United would have won 3 titles because they came first and we came second. And Liverpool would have won 3 titles because they came second 3 times for them. If that's correct, I'm only saying what I've read. But I don't like the idea of somebody who finished second being awarded the title.
No, I'm with you on that one.
To me, if it gets squashed, then that season is just written off into history, if you like, if they take the titles off them. I don't think the title should be awarded to someone who came second. I really don't.
Super chat here from Viana Gam. I think I said that right. Sorry if I said that wrong. Adam with his names again, people on YouTube. But he pretty much agrees with you, Ricky. It wouldn't make sense taking points from them from previous seasons. They've already won those titles. Yeah, I mean, no one wants to be given a hand down, do they? No. I mean, it wouldn't feel right. I mean, it's like when you look on Manchester United's records in the future, if this came through and that was the case, it'd be like, yeah, but 2 of them seasons weren't even, I didn't even celebrate them picking up the trophy.
You've got that. You've got the idea that you're, as a fan, what's the point now of being told whatever year we were second to them, you know, that we've won a title now, 2 or 3. You don't get to parade it, you don't get to have a celebration at all. No, everybody's not going to come to Old Trafford now and have a big celebration because we've been awarded a title from 4 years ago or whatever it would be. But I've got another angle on it as well.
Go for it.
That if a team at the top of the table lose their title, and then you just look at the table and say, well, they were second, they might not necessarily have been second if City wouldn't have been in the table. City might have beaten teams that are just below the team that came second, and the team that came second might have beaten City.
And so on and so forth down the ladder.
To me, it just makes a mess of everything. And I don't think
I looked at it like you did then, but just on this season, I think yesterday, and I was like, well, we'd gain 3 more points. But nearly everyone below us would probably gain 6 points and come right up behind us because City have pretty much beaten everyone in the path. The only ones losing out on it would be Arsenal because they've not played City yet. So it would be a weird snap. But I think it should be from this point forward. Whether it is this season, that can be debated on its own. But I think a punishment definitely needs to be put in place. I'm with you completely, and I think most of the chat are as well in terms of City just need to be punished here and now rather than what was gone. You can't take that away from players. Players have left the club. The managers have left the club. It's just scary how the Premier League have been conducting a 5-year investigation for the last 12 years of City's finances and business and how they've conducted it and how they've kept stum about that and gone about that. That must have been difficult on its own, Rick. for them to do that investigation and no one know that that was going on, because it broke yesterday like it was like a bolt from the blue. Like I said, I keep saying it.
It came out of the blue yesterday, but I do think it was knowledge that they were conducting some sort of investigation. I think it's just been going on that long that people have forgotten that they started that investigation so long ago. I think it was in the news when they actually started the investigation. You know what I mean? But it's just gone on that long that suddenly it's gone bang. Right, this is what we found.
Yeah, another super chat in there from DC says, Ollie told Haaland that he went to the wrong side of Manchester. Does this situation make Ollie the right one? I know goals-wise it's not true, but another super chat in here, so let me catch this one up. Ollie winning a title because this would cause more trouble than good. Yeah, from Vihanagam again says that one there. I mean, it just makes things complicated, and I know the tongue-in-cheek comments there in the comment section, but it kind of shows the confusion and how difficult everything would be to be organised. I think the clubs have come out with that. I think what's there in that Sky statement there is the clubs are like, right, they need to be punished, but let's not make things complicated. Let's just make it about the now and what's gone by. Yeah, it seems unfair, and maybe some clubs might not have been relegated. You talked about the top.
Exactly.
Some clubs could have financially gone into trouble by going down, and then you're opening up a can of worms, which is never going to get settled, and I think would just cause mass confusion.
City might have only dropped one set of points against one of the teams in the bottom three in them years, and that team in the bottom three might have stayed up had they beaten City and all. Had they, you know what I'm getting at here.
No, it's right. It's dead right. 5,000 in the room with us. Don't forget to give the video a like, everybody. Cheers for tuning in with us on this Tuesday afternoon. Hot topics. I mean, I've got a list here in front of me, Rick, the actual possibilities of punishments for Manchester City, and we'll just run through these now, and everyone just let me know what you think as well, and you, Rick, see which one you think suits. So punishments could be so much as suspend the club from playing league matches, which would be kicking them out of the league pretty much. Points deductions, recommended to the board that league matches be replayed. Ooh.
Can't do that.
Not in the fixture pile there is now. I wouldn't have said that. Order compensation. Please don't. That would be embarrassing for the Premier League. A payment or a fine would just be wrong right now after all of this. To go through that amount of process of the investigation that long, I think if the Premier League came out of this now with anything but a severe punishment for Manchester City, it would make them look very weak.
It can't just be a financial punishment. They've got too much money. It can't just be a financial.
Cancel or refuse registration of players. Conditional punishment. Order the club to pay costs. Make such other order as it thinks fit. I mean, I don't know what that one means or how they're going to do that, but the main few at the top there kind of put it out there. It's points deduction, expulsion from the league. The Premier League clubs are pushing towards City being taken out of the Premier League. I can see why they would do that. They have to follow the rules. We've just talked about it then. Some clubs have fallen by the by and been relegated because they've followed these rules. Why should City get away with it? Because they've got these rich owners with a fine and not be punished for rules that other clubs have abided by, and therefore lost out when City have cheated the system, apparently.
Yeah, allegedly. Yeah.
Allegedly.
If as and when it. I mean, I don't know how long this is going to take. Have we got any idea about that?
This is it. It's not going to happen quickly, I don't think, from what's being said. Definitely not. But I would say it could go to the end of the season. And this season is just added to another one of them that we've spoken about that's in the past.
Yeah, and they might be champions.
They could be champions. I mean, that would be a bit of a bittersweet pill. If City are champions and then they get kicked out of the league. Relegated for winning the league, Rick.
Can you imagine that?
I can laugh because I'm a United fan, but I mean, you'd be worried. I mean, City fans, obviously they've got no power in all of this. They've gone along and enjoyed the success that's come their way, rightly so. But really, you got to look at them and go, them fans now are thinking, what's going to happen? Where are we going to be? Have we got a club? Are we going to be in the Premier League? Are we going to be able to compete in major competitions? Are the players that have been brought under this so-called infringements or these conditions that the Premier League have held against City? Are we going to lose them players?
The number of different things you're bringing up, mate, it's an absolute minefield. Mentioning other competitions then, you've just made me think. Say they win the Champions League this year, is that, will that be okay? Will they stick with that? Because will UEFA have already tried
Good point.
you know what I mean? But now it's the Premier League and not UEFA.
But
will they be able to play in the Champions League scot-free, so to speak?
Well, to get in the Champions League, you need points in the Premier League.
Well, I mean
which
this year, though.
I mean
this year. You know
they've got.
Yeah.
I mean, when I look at it now, I go, it's going to leave a bitter taste. The Premier League, and this is why. What we're talking about now is, to me, why the Premier League have to feel confident about what they've brought forward, because for this to fall and them to fall flat on their face now, with all the permutations that we've just talked about, it would be the biggest embarrassment to which is the richest league and biggest league in world football. Yeah. That's how serious it is for the Premier League, not just City. Yeah. They have to have everything in place for this to look like a case that they can take City to what they've charged them with. It really does, doesn't it?
I think so. Like I say, City are going to have the best lawyers in the world on the case, but they seem to have that much evidence. You'd have to think the Premier League was, it's like trying to call the outcome of a football game between two big teams, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're both going to have good lawyers, and obviously they've got a pile of evidence, clearly. Yeah. I was reading on Sky yesterday that City have been providing them with evidence and saying they've been giving them so much evidence or so much stuff that they've asked for, if you like, that they don't see, they don't understand how they've got something against them. You know, they managed to build a case, but they definitely think they have, and I just think it's going to be very interesting, the outcome.
It's going to escalate into an absolute minefield of problems and possible outcomes. I mean, people are in place that need to be in place to deal with this. I'm just going to read through some of the chats here right now. Neil Perrier says, I think they should be punished for all the cheating that they had been doing during that period, not because of the status of the club. Throw them out. Nobody in the world cares about them. Get them relegated in the National League if they are guilty. I mean, do you remember what happened to Rangers? About when they got relegated to the bottom tier?
They dropped 2 divisions, I think, didn't
yes, of Scottish football, and that was for breaching. It wasn't breaching; it was falling to some form of administration or something like that. That wasn't as thingy, but in Scotland that was huge.
At the time, it was massive news.
I mean, could you see anything? I mean, where would the EFL are under no obligation to accept City if they get expelled from the Premier League. Yeah. So the pressure then falls onto the EFL, and they're not going to want to do any favours for the Premier League, because there's always been that debate with how much money gets fed down to the National League and the EFL, but they're in no position to go, well, you've got all this wealth, we're going to help you out.
The EFL clubs, there's a right conundrum this. The EFL clubs would probably want to welcome City with open arms because of obviously the gate money and, you know, fans of their clubs wanting to see Manchester City's players. But then again, if they drop down to the EFL, would there be such a power and would they be able to keep all those players? So I don't know.
That's it. Slow Sports News in with a super chat. Whatever they have done, whether it be 60, 70 or 100, it is still breach of financial fair play. You can't say out of all of those there will be no punishment.
Great shout.
That's it. I mean, there has to be something, haven't there?
Yeah, they've got 100 and odd different things that they're charging them with. I can't see them getting off with 100 and odd different
fair
things.
Point, yes. Huff says, if stripped of titles, replaying the prize, about redistributing the prize monies from them competitions, that's another financial. And you think like who City have beaten in cup finals.
Yeah.
Not
us.
Oh God! I mean, you can think of all the teams that have there's played some. You could go through every round of the FA Cup when you think about it. You just said it. Then the more you think about it,
it's a mess, isn't it?
The more it just gets worse in your head.
That they've knocked out of different cups over the years,
and the money that they may have earned that may have saved that football club. And
if you win the FA Cup, don't you get in the Europa League?
Yes.
So they've been knocking teams out of the FA Cup and beating teams in the FA Cup final on the odd occasion.
I can think of I'm trying to think back now. I can only remember a few who City have played in. In fact, it's usually been Liverpool and Chelsea's of this world, but like Wolves in the semi-final. Basically anyone through the FA Cup, because it counts for all rounds, because the business is done and they've cheated the system. It does move in, and then the EFL, we're talking about them in the league, Rick, moves into their cup competitions as well. Because City have won, 4 of the last 5 League Cups?
I'm pretty sure they've won 6 of the last 8.
Is it 6
I'm pretty sure they have. Maybe someone could check it and tell you on the chat. I'm pretty sure they've won 6 of the last 8 League Cups.
Someone in the chat actually just tell me how many times City have actually won the Carabao Cup or League Cup. Let's see. City should be stripped of their titles, said Akash then. Again, I understand all of them comments, and it's more of like you feel like you've been hard done to as a fan. That a club so big has cheated the system, allegedly. I'm going to just say that word a few times. Rick said it at the start. I think we've just got to keep saying that here. It is the United standard. Obviously, we are mainly about Manchester United, but a story as serious as this needs to be discussed because it affects every single club in the league. And think of what them players are thinking right now.
That's another point. I wasn't going to say that, but that's another great point. Will this affect the way they're going forward, the management team and the players? Will it affect the way they're going to play for the rest of the season? Even if this doesn't come to fruition during the season, it might be the summertime or even next season by the time it's heard. And once it's heard, by the way, I did see this on Sky, they can make one appeal, can't they? It's not to the Court of Arbitration, like you said, but they can make one appeal. So how long that will run is beyond me. It might be 12 months. If it's 12 months, will we be halfway through next season and they're still playing all these players, and then they might get the result halfway through the season? They could do with it being done and dusted in a summertime, couldn't they? So that they know where they stand for the start of a football season.
That is it, definitely. I mean, another super chat here from Rob. He says, I think they need to have the same action taken against them that Rangers had to them. Fines are nothing to City. Stronger action needed. Titles to be void. Void and not given to anyone else, I would say, because I don't think anyone else needs them or to be handed down to them. It just wouldn't sit right. I mean, we don't want Liverpool getting any more trophies anyway, do we, Rick? No.
Well, I think we'd have matched it in the league, wouldn't we? I think it was 3-2 them and 3 to us, but I still don't think
if it came through and they were actually...
if it was 6 to us and none to them, it'd be a bit different.
Yeah, but I think in that time spell, that 12 years, if you count up what City won, Sir Alex Ferguson would have won three in a row. He would have got the title 3 years in a row, 3 times.
Oh, right, because we came second once to them, but when he'd won it twice, right?
He would have actually had he would have been he is still the only manager to get 3 in a row. We know that. He would have had it 3 times though. A hat-trick of 3s.
Hat-trick of 3s.
Whoa, I mean, that would be never beaten, but just goes to show, doesn't it? Like, it didn't seem right when it came in, and it seemed too easy for him to do whatever they wanted, because they did just do what they wanted, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it seemed unfair. But
as a United fan, you know it's been painful the last few years, and if it was any club, you'd feel hard done by. But with it being City, I mean, let's be honest, most United fans must have thought, how on earth did this family fall on Manchester City? Why didn't they take the money somewhere? Why didn't they buy United, or why didn't they take the money somewhere else? But for them to actually pick City was a terrible blow for a lot of United fans.
That's it. You can imagine if they go down, what the players would do, like you said, then would they want to go elsewhere? It would be like an auction for Manchester City players, because they have so many good ones.
Something else about the 3 in a row that you just mentioned, by the way. I know they've got a bit to do to win it this year, but they've still got a good chance. If they were to win it this year, they'd be 3 in a row. Yeah. Wouldn't they? They'd be only the second other club. United have done it twice, but no other club has done it in the Premier League.
This would be the most sour league title winning.
That'd be bad enough, but what I was concerned about, and now I don't think this is going to happen. I was worried about them winning it 4 times in a row, which we've never done. That's what would have happened next year if they could have won.
Would have broken another one of our records.
And I was fearing that might happen, but I don't think that will happen now if this gets proved.
Cheated court success can't be bought, allegedly, says James Dixon. Cheers for that, Jimbo. What if Man U gets charged for the same? I don't think we're the other end of the stick, to be honest. I think we've just been run.
We've not been spending enough money.
So poorly that I think Manchester United's success. I mean, City's saying that their revenues were better than Manchester United's. I'm trying to think how, because they said that last season. I'm like, how are City's revenues bigger than Manchester United? I know they're in more competitions, but we were in the Champions League last season like they were. I just don't understand that with their size of stadium and their match day revenues and everything that they've got. It's like, where does that come from? And then you start to think, don't you? Like,
following around the world. Imagine how many people around the world buy, stuff from United and all that, as opposed to
on a season that Ronaldo came in as well, and the sales that bought. Manchester United stopped memberships because there's too many.
Yeah.
We are absolutely swamped at the moment with people trying to get to Old Trafford, season tickets, memberships. Manchester United's revenue to be less than Manchester City's with their setup didn't seem right. And then you start thinking about everything that's happened.
Man United, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich. Those 4 clubs, there might be an Italian club to throw in there, but I don't think they're getting the same revenue.
Not a chance.
At all. I think those 4 clubs dwarf the rest of the clubs. And for a club to suddenly say we're matching your revenue when it's actually coming from a particular family that's putting the money into it, as opposed to earning that money yourselves, it's just beyond belief. It's beyond belief.
They are coming for Chelsea next. Another super chat in there. I mean, Chelsea seem to have done things a little bit differently. They've tried to be a bit savvy with their sales, and I remember listening to football financial experts talking about this, how Chelsea have done it. They've got a chance to actually bring that back into line with FFP. I think with their player sales, that balances theirs out. But I'm thinking, yes, last summer I think City made a profit on players. It just seems like I said again, the more you think about it, it's like only now have they tried to start adapting to financial fair play, thinking that they can get away with the misdemeanors that's got them to this position now. Because it seems like they've just started over the last few years to actually balance books and work right. But it's what they've done to get to this stage, I think, is being brought up and how wrong it is. So, I mean, I'm just glad that it's not Manchester United, Rick, and we're actually on the up right now. I think that's where we're at. I mean, we will switch across to Manchester United talk. I mean, we've nearly done half an hour talking about City's demise. It's not bad, is it? I'm not too fussed about that, but I mean, it is a football family, and you don't want to see any. I've got to be careful how I say this now. It's like a City fan base. I've got a City, but imagine your club just being taken away. I won't want that. I won't wish that on my worst enemy, because we do need that banter in football. We do need that competition, but. I mean, I've had a lot of stick over the last few years over Manchester City, but I think they'd be absolutely bricking it right now as a football fan.
Yeah, without a doubt.
If they were cocky enough to think that they can just get away with this like they have with UEFA, I think that would be overly arrogant, and I just can't see the Premier League coming to the table with this without the backing.
No, I agree.
And the evidence. I really can't. That's what's different this time. And the fact that City can't then go through to the Court of Arbitration and Sport makes a bit of a difference, and that's why I think. I think they're in big trouble, but we'll let it play out. We'll let the powers that be sort that out, and we'll deal with Manchester United moving forward.
I think we'll be doing another show on this in 12 months' time, mate.
I do. I think it's going to be.
I can see it taking that long.
I think it's going to be a monumental summer, Rick, in terms of Manchester United's takeover. What happens to Manchester City? It could be a complete 180, really, in terms of what City do and what United do.
Yeah.
I think the turnaround would be absolutely crazy. No one envisaged this, but Manchester United. Let's talk about the up again. Oh, maybe let's not. Let's talk about the down, because the down would be certain players reportedly, mainly in the MEN. That's been reporting Erik ten Hag has got his hit list for possible outgoings. In the summer. I'm going to read through them here for you now, Rick. I want. So for good fit, actually, we're going to do them one by one.
Yeah,
so you can get a chance to talk about each one, and then give the pros and the cons, and everyone in the comment section let you know what you think as well in terms of these players. The so-called hit list of 6. I'll start from the top. Harry Maguire. I can see how. Do you see that, Rick, in what's happening? How he's not knocking on the door, and he's not getting the game time, and the amount of defenders we have got. Yeah. Can you see why Maguire himself would want to go, and why the club would want to get rid of him?
Yeah, definitely. He's not getting enough starts. I don't think he's going to start getting enough starts. He's bringing him on as a sub occasionally when we're defending deep, but you've only got to think back a few weeks back. Was it because Martinez wasn't back from the World Cup, but we've used Luke Shaw as a centre back? Before that,
says a lot.
Lindelof was also playing. I can't remember if it was next to Martinez or next to Varane.
You're right.
But Lindelof was ahead of Harry Maguire. So now, although he's bringing Maguire on more than Lindelof at the minute, it's usually about when the team are under pressure for the last 5 minutes, like he did on Saturday, and they're going to bomb my eyeballs in. Plus, I think Crystal Palace has just brought on a 6'4" centre forward as well, haven't they? I'm sure they did that in the last 15 minutes of the game. So they're using Harry just to see games out at the moment and a bit more height at the back. But I think if we were to start a game with only, say, Lindelof, Maguire and Martinez available, I think it'd be Lindelof and Martinez. So I think he's got it in his mind that Harry's well down the pecking order. And, you know I did a video on Harry a long time ago saying that a lot of people misconstrued that. I wasn't saying he was an awful player. I was just saying he wasn't worth £80 million, and we'd got rid of Chris Smalling at the time I think we'd lent him out for £2 million or something.
I think I was in the vicinity when
the difference is astonishing, and there's not a lot to choose between them as players, and I think Chris Smalling's probably better. So I was really having a go at the money that we'd spent on a player, and we'd let another player go who was at least as good. But on top of that, Harry's having a great time for England. He does well for England. He did well in the World Cup. So I don't think there'd be a shortage of buyers. I'm not saying we'd get our £80 million back, but I'm sure we'd get a reasonable fee for Harry Maguire.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if Harry Maguire set off, I was one of them people that wanted Harry Maguire in the club. I remember watching him for Hull. I thought he was a good player there. Leicester, he went on to another level. I do think we had our asses slapped by Leicester for the fee. I'm agreeing with you there, Rick, in terms of how much we paid for Harry Maguire. I do think there's a player in there. I just feel like in that England shirt, he's a different animal to what he is in the United shirt. He changes as soon as that shirt goes on. I can see a player in Harry Maguire. I just think it's mentally left him at Manchester United right now. I don't know if Ten Hag can get it back, because he's turned some players around at this club.
Yes.
He's turned some careers right around. I didn't think Wan-Bissaka would have done what he's done, but he's done it. Could Harry? I look at this and go, I think it's more on Harry Maguire's side that he probably wants to get game time, pushing for that England spot.
He's going to want game time, but even look, the way I see some of the players playing now, they're playing better. 3 or 4 players are playing better than I thought they were capable of. And I've no doubt that the manager's working equally as hard with Harry Maguire. Yeah. It's just that he's so far down the pecking order. Do you understand what I mean? Wan-Bissaka is now getting games, but he's only competing with one player.
Yes, true.
You know, there's 4 or 5 players for the centre-back role, so it's more difficult.
You could say off pecking order on how you described Ten Hag using Harry Maguire. He is 5th choice.
Yeah, there's Varane, Martinez,
Lindelof, Shaw.
And Shaw, at least. Am I missing anybody?
Casemiro's played there.
He has, but I don't think he'd use him ahead.
No. I think he naturally is 5th on the pecking order right now. That's probably too much for an England first-team regular to be sat on the bench, I would say. And I can see why this deal could actually happen. And I think you're right. I think we would get 30 mil.
Yeah, maybe a bit more, I think.
Because of his England performances.
Yeah.
He hasn't been horrendous for Manchester United this season, apart from the first couple of games. But he's bit part, so...
30 or 40 million, I would imagine.
On to the next one. Rick.
Go on.
Here we go. It's one of yours, this one.
Go on.
One of your list.
I know what's coming, I think.
Mr. Scott McTominay.
Oh, Scott McTominay? No, he won't sell him. He won't sell him.
There is strong rumours that he could be. Well, why is he not selling him?
Well, he's got to balance up. He's got to balance up, like we've just spoke about people in the centre-back roles. In midfield, we've got... I know we could get somebody else. We've got Casemiro, we've got Eriksen. I think Sabitza's going to go back into it. According to the newspapers anyway, he's going back. So we've got Casemiro, we've got Eriksen, we've got Fred, and we've got Scott McTominay. And I think that's about it, who's actually seriously contenders for playing, even when we've got an injury or two. To me, like Harry's probably 5th choice. We haven't really, we've only got, and that's for 2 positions. Bruno can play in midfield, suppose, but people call him a midfield player, but really he's a number 10. We even use him on the right wing pretty often, don't
now
we?
We are, yeah.
So I'm looking at the two players who might be regarded as like defensive style midfield players. So for me, there's only 4 players, and I don't think it's quite enough. Doesn't mean that they couldn't sign somebody and sell him, but let me put it this way. I know we've just brought Sabitzer in. But if we hadn't brought Sabitzer in, because we're not counting Sabitzer in that scenario.
No.
If we hadn't brought Sabitzer in, now we'd be in a right mess.
We would.
And I'd love to have Scott McTominay available for tomorrow night if we didn't have Sabitzer. Do you understand what I mean?
Totally. I mean, I made a point of this in the press conference earlier on. It's like, it just goes to show how important that deadline day signing was of Marcel Sabitzer, because right now we'd be up the creek without a paddle in terms of midfield. We'd be drafting Lindelof into midfield. Yeah. I think that's where we would actually be going.
I think that could even happen. He's used him there as a sub.
Martinez, some people have said he's played there at Ajax for him as well. I mean, doesn't matter. But Scott McTominay's a no for you guys.
I wouldn't be selling McTominay, not without replacing him. But when I say replacing him, I just mean you need enough bodies in there who are capable midfield players. And anybody who wants to write in or make a comment that he's not capable, you're being ridiculous. I know we all have our favourites and our sort of enemies, if you like, is that the right word? Players that we criticise, but he does do a decent job, and he is a body that we've got there at the minute who fills one of them roles.
Comments on Scott McTominay. Anybody who's better than McTominay, I'll pay for McTominay's Uber to the airport. It's a bit harsh, people, obviously. But the next one, where was it gone there? So what does Scott McTominay add to our team? Question mark. Please explain. I'd rather Mainu play. I don't want to throw a young player in at this stage. I think Mainu needs a bit more. Scott has been awful last 4 months. Completely disagree. He's a good squad player, to be fair, and a training ground dummy could replace Scott McTominay. I shouldn't have read that one, that was a bit harsh. I was just reading it from the start. Scott McTominay goes small games. You guys don't like Scott McTominay. I mean, he started off well this season. You think he's gone out of form? I agree his form has dropped. But he did have a good start to the season. Like Ten Hag said, he was part of the team that beat Liverpool at Old Trafford. I think, was it even Arsenal?
Listen, the manager is doing a good job, and he's entitled to like the players that he likes. And I would bet me bottom dollar, if Scott McTominay was fit for tomorrow night, he'd be playing, and Sabitzer would still be on the bench.
I'm sure of it.
Sabitzer might not play anyway. There's just a slight chance that he might use Lindelof there, because he's got to be a defensive style player, and Sabitzer can do the job. It probably will be Sabitzer, but I'm pretty confident if McTominay was fit, because he's a new player, Sabitzer, getting used to his surroundings, getting used to his his teammates. I think Sabitzer would still be on the bench tomorrow if McTominay was fit. So you've got to have a squad.
Yeah, I understand. You know what? I agree with you on him playing tomorrow. Knowing how Ten Hag has worked his new players coming back, new players coming in, or in fact players coming back from injury, he has eased them in. I think Scott would play tomorrow. I do agree with you on that one. Even though I'd like to see Sabitzer play,
I can't wait to see Sabitzer play.
Yeah. I do agree that tomorrow would have been a McTominay game. I just know it with him. Oh, Ricky, it doesn't get any better for you. Anthony Martial is the next one on the list. Now, this one's going to definitely be looked at, I think, differently with a lot of people. I think you've got the Martial, the character, the player, but then you've got the situation. And I think the situation is taking over who the player is right now, just in my opinion.
You put it in a great way.
Where would you say it?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. The injury situation is overtaking. And I never thought I'd say this, and it's literally, having one injury after another, then the other night getting 20 minutes to half an hour, and I'm thinking, right, that's him now. Let's hope that he can just do 20 or 30 minutes for a few weeks, and then maybe get a start. And then even after doing 20 or 30 minutes, he's then missing for the next game. I can't tell you how devastated I was. I was deflated.
I thought of you, Rick. Actually, I've seen the team line up, and you messaged me, have you got any team news? I went, Rick's just going to be slumped in his chair right now. I'm telling this that Martial's injured again. But
it's not funny, is it? But
it
no,
isn't
as
for
a
the
player, and people who don't like him as a player, by the way, you want to listen to the manager and listen carefully how he speaks about him. But even the manager will be frustrated and fed up with him if he's completely on the treatment table week after week after week, which is what's happening. And you put it perfectly, Adam. The situation is overtaking how good the player is as a player.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny what potential Martial has got, but he's not played 90 minutes for nearly 3 years now. That says a lot. That really does. And it was a new injury. It wasn't even a recurring. It was a new one, which is even. Sometimes people say, "Oh, it's not the new one. At least we know he's not had a recurrence of the bad one." But I then I go, "Well, that's still not going to make that other one any better. If it's another injury, a new one, clearly is stopping him playing football. So it's on his bottom half. Then you're worried about anything going down with him.
It's a disaster. I've just got to add one thing in. By same as I said, like with Maguire, we've got lots of lots of centre backs in front of him. In midfield, there ain't so many midfield players in front of McTominay, not as many as there is centre backs in front of Maguire. But then when you look at the forwards, we're threadbare for strikers. So again, even if he's not fit, if in the summer he wasn't even fit, you wouldn't be able to sell him if you didn't buy somebody. You know what I mean?
No, it's top.
So we've got to replace these players.
Top of the list in the summer.
You know, Pete, you're putting this list out there, and people at the Evening News it is who are saying he's got to go. They've got to replace him first, or in certain instances anyway. Certainly in the case of McTominay, and definitely in the case of Martial, we're absolutely threadbare. I mean, we could probably keep Vegas. I'm sure we could buy him, but he's our only fit striker.
It's desperate. It's desperate. I mean, it goes to show that we knew we were heading into this busy period coming back from the World Cup. We knew the window was there. I think we needed more than what we've got in January to see us through this season alone. I think we're seeing now with the likes of Casemiro's suspensions, Eriksen's injury, just what could have happened if we didn't buy any players in. That would have been a scary thought, actually, having bought no one in January, which could have happened, and then get the injuries and suspensions we've got now. I think that would completely do our season, because I don't think we've got the depth. Showing right now, down to the last three midfielders. Who'd have thought that Fred would be starting games come the start of January? Next one on the list, I think this makes more sense. I think it's been a waste of 3 years of career, Donny van der Beek. His career has just nosedived. Yeah, they're absolutely nosedived, hasn't it? Where you at with Donny now? I mean, it's a bad injury.
It's another one. Yeah, it's another one that I'm gutted for, because I think there's a player there, and I do think that the manager thinks there's a player there. I've heard him speak about him glowingly. He had him playing for him at Ajax, and he was starting to get. Even though he wasn't getting lots of game time, he was getting a hell of. I bet he was getting 10 times as much game time as he was getting under Ollie. Do you remember Ollie used to bring him on with a minute to go and stuff like that? He was getting 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then he starts a game, and then that happens. I feel really, really sorry for the lad. But the Evening News are putting that out there. We won't be able to sell him next summer because he's not going to be fit. I don't think anybody would buy him because I don't think he's going to be fit.
I think he's actually got, what's he got left, 2 years on his contract. I think he had a 5-year when he signed.
Listen, it's a horrible thing to talk about for a player like that when he's had such a severe injury. I think we should just say, good luck to the lad. I hope he gets fit, and then whatever happens, happens. And if he's fit enough to start playing regularly again for United, let's see what the manager thinks. That's what I'd say about that one. I won't be looking to sell him because it'd be difficult to sell anyway.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think it's going to be a problem for United. Yeah, it's all right making the list, but in terms of who he's going to take the player, it's a whole different subject, different conversation altogether. I look at the last two and I think, well, they're no-brainers because they're both out on loan right now, and I don't think I've got a place in the team. Eric Bailly and Alex Telles. I think both of them need to be cashed in on if possible before we move on to looking ahead to the game tomorrow, Rick. I mean, them two, I think they're fair enough. Yeah, fair game, see you later.
Yeah, definitely. Telles, left back, we've got Malassia now as cover, haven't we? I think Telles.
And centre back, we just talked then about Harry Maguire being fifth choice. I mean, Bailly would come back in 6 at best, even if Axel was 7th. I think it's time.
Go, if anybody will have him.
That is it. So out of our list, and guys, obviously let us know what you think. So the list is, and I want you to get your comments in. If you are watching the show afterwards, when it's finished its live stream, get your comments in on the list of 6 players. It's Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay, Anthony Martial, Donny van der Beek, Eric Bailly and Alex Telles. Harry Maguire is a go. Scott McTominay, Ricky's put a stop on that one. He stays. Martial, circumstances dictate we need to replace him, but we need a striker in first. Donny van der Beek, unfortunate career. if we can sell him, if his injury has cleared up, we can let him go. And Eric Bailly and Alex Telles, night, see you later. Just too many players, and they're not going to get in this squad. Moving on to what we've just talked about a little bit there, Rick, in terms of that midfield and that forward line. Leeds United tomorrow. First of all, Rick, I talked about earlier on Leeds and how big it is in Premier League history. Not just Premier League history, but Manchester United against Leeds United. What was your first memory of this fixture? Was it going to Leeds, Ellen Road, the hostile atmosphere? What was your first memory of Leeds versus Manchester United going back in the day? What was it? What was so big?
I go back further than you, mate.
I know.
Two absolutely fantastic teams going toe to toe. The games were unbelievable. Played each other in an FA Cup semi-final once when I was a really young boy, and I was absolutely mesmerised by it. 2-0 draws. A second got beat.
I love that actually.
Got beat 1-0. Got beat 1-0 in a second replay. Billy Bremner scored the header.
Is that where is that where Ricky started? The 0-0 love. Is that where it started, Rick? It's Leeds v United back in the day. That's
honestly,
it. We figured Rick out, everyone. That's where it's come from. Ricky's 0-0s, Leeds and United, but it was probably more intense then than what it is now, Rick. Am I right?
It was more intense, yeah, and obviously there was a lot more football hooliganism as well in those days. There was lots of fighting at the stadiums and stuff like that, and there was fighting.
Give as good as you got, Rick.
There was fighting on the pitch, you name it, and the two teams. The thing about football in those days as well, there wasn't as much, well, not as much, there was nowhere near as much rotation.
No,
teams, you could name, they had one substitute.
Yeah.
You could name the teams when you was a young man and you loved football. The Leeds team of the day was Sprake, Reaney, Cooper, Bremner, Charlton, Hunter, Laurie, McClark, Jones, Giles, Gray. Right, so that was the lineup, unless somebody was injured or suspended. There's no rotation.
No
rotation.
Even if they had a niggle, they were playing, weren't they? Yeah. A couple of super chats. Worried about the Leeds game, fatigue kicking in. Let's give Man City the Glazers. That will sort the spending. That'll stop them spending too much. Good comment there, that one. Leeds. You go back way before me, Rick, on that one, and I do feel like, in terms of the actual history that I know of, even going back when I know, which is years, it was just intense. Yeah. Every time you turn up at Ellen Road, you know you've arrived at a rival, a real rival.
Yeah.
In terms of
atmosphere
football,
was fantastic.
It was off the scale.
Electric.
Old Trafford, just as much as Ellen Road was. It's more on it because it's the Pennine Divide. It's White Rose against Red Rose, Lancashire against Yorkshire. That comes into it. It's crazy to think, and people think, he's just talking to try and build the game. It's not. It really isn't.
It's a massive
Lancashire,
game.
Yorkshire is a massive rivalry anyway. You throw two of the biggest teams in Premier League history into that, and you're talking about a cauldron of everything that is what football should be. Rivalry, intensity, excitement, and it is. But looking at this right now, Rick, in the modern era, Leeds are in a bit of trouble.
Yeah.
Tinkering on the edge of relegation. Jesse Marsh just been sacked. Obviously, it's going to be temporary charge. God knows how they're going to approach the game tomorrow night, Rick. Do you feel like that's a problem? Ten Hag has talked about that in his press conference, that could be a problem, not knowing what's to come now tomorrow.
Yeah. You often get this. It's usually, they call it new manager bounce, don't it? It's usually when the new manager comes in, but I don't think they're going to have a new man in place as such, but they're going to have somebody from within the ranks in charge, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's usually when a new manager comes, such as happened at Goodison Park only on Saturday, with Sean Dyche getting Everton to beat Arsenal.
And the added fact that it's Chris Arness who was under Ranić.
Is that who it is? Yeah.
There's a little bit of a link there, maybe there's a little bit of extra spice to it because of that on his side of it. But Leeds threats, you've watched a lot of Leeds this
I've
season?
seen a few games. Obviously, Bamford's he's had a lot of injury problems. He's like their Anthony Martial, I feel like. When he plays, they're better, but he's never fit.
No.
But I don't think they'd be dreaming of selling him, though. Do you know what I mean?
No, you can put that down.
He's never fit, certainly this year, but he's fit at the minute, and he's a top player.
That's it. Nonto on the wing, what do you think? An Italian winger. He's a
sure.
live wire, isn't he?
I've seen a lot of Bamford from the past. I've not seen enough of him. I've only seen him just recently. I've not seen enough of him, but he does look a live wire, yeah.
That is it. Manchester United going into this game, 13 wins in a row, Rick. you'd expect the confidence to be high, no matter who turns up to Old Trafford right now. I feel like we're going to beat them.
Yeah.
New manager bounce isn't quite there yet. Leeds can't buy a win. I think it was 1 in 7. I think that's why Jesse Marsh.
1 in 17, I think.
1 in 17. Yeah, sorry.
I think it was 1 in 17.
Which tells you why.
I might be wrong with that, but I'm sure that's what I heard on Sky.
They were tinkering on the edge of that relegation zone, and I just hope we don't get that sort of turnaround revival sort of game. But confident. I mean, people have said they're worried about the second one at Ellen Road more. I can see that. But tomorrow night we'll concentrate on that. Do you feel confident with more than enough to get the win, even with the injuries we've got?
Well, if you say more than enough, in other words, will we win it easily? I don't think that. I think we're good enough.
You don't think like me getting 4-1 then? No.
I think we're good enough to win. I think we're good enough to win. And I expect us to win, but I don't think it's going to be easy.
No, I mean, if he's got anything about him, you would go 2 banks of 4. Make it hard for United to play through. That's where United have come unstuck this season. That's how you'd approach the game, wouldn't it? It's like if you had anything about you. I mean, we know what our weaknesses are. Low blocks, the creativity side of it, the patience in breaking it down. That's where we've struggled every season in terms of...
If I was him, I'd go with a back 4. I'd go with 5 across the middle and just Bamford up top. That's what I'd go with.
Target man.
That's what Everton did at weekend. They had the 3 lads in the middle. They had the 2 wide men dropping back in. Yeah, it's a 4-5-1 really, and I think that's probably what they'd do.
Was it Gray, Decore, and
in the middle they had Decore, Anana, and Idrissa Gueye.
That was the one, Idrissa Gueye. Yeah,
and then they had McNeil on one flank and Iwobi on the other.
Solid midfield. It goes to show, doesn't it, what a new manager can come in and find. And the Leeds have got players. They've spent a lot of money.
That midfield 3 for Everton, by the way, will give anybody a game.
Oh.
Absolutely anybody, and it makes you wonder what's been going on there up until this weekend.
Could that happen for Leeds? That's what we've got to look at. It's like, have they got something we don't know about that they could put together? I mean, start of the season, they didn't look too bad. I mean, Aronson was doing well, obviously. Harrison was fine. You've got plenty of players there at Leeds. It's just finding that mix and blend into it, which Jesse Marsh hasn't been able to find. I mean, I think we can discuss what team we're going to play, but I think it picks itself right now. But
our team.
Yeah, I mean, would you be happy with the same back 4 and goalkeeper as Palace for starters? I think that's pretty much set.
Yeah, I think Wan-Bissaka's doing well. I think Dalot's fit now. He was on the bench at the weekend, wasn't he? I think he'll get a game soon, but Wan-Bissaka's doing well enough. So yeah, I'd keep the same back 4. I'd go with Sabitzer, Fred, Bruno. And then
who's your front 3 with no Anthony?
Anthony's missing. I think you've got to play Sancho really. He's fit now, isn't he? And,
I think Sancho's not played on the right ones for Ten Hag this season. Would it worry that he'd put him out on the left and sacrifice someone who really shouldn't be on the right, who wasn't best adapted to it?
I mean, obviously Rashford's played on the right occasionally. He could put Sancho. I'd just put Sancho. You're asking me what I'd do, I suppose.
I've gone with you, mate. I've said Sancho on the right.
I'd just put Sancho on the right, without a doubt. I would.
Garnacho.
But having said that, I mean, and I would do that. But at the weekend it was strange when Sancho came on, Bruno went on. Surely he's not going to do that when we've got wingers. But you never know, do you?
I said exactly the same thing before, even on the press conference video before, Rick. It's like how when he announced that Anthony was unfit or injured, I was looking at it trying to think, how is he going to do it? And then I came up with about 6 different combinations. You could have Rashford in the middle, Garnacho one side, Sancho the other, Vegas, Rashford, Sancho. Could have Rashford on the right, Garnacho on the left.
I bet you never said Bruno on the right and Sancho at 10, did you?
I didn't have Bruno there, then you can add that to it. But honestly, I think...
It's unlikely, but...
I think with Leeds' energy, I think he'd want Bruno in the middle somewhere because he does get up and down the pitch more than what Sancho would. But I'm with you, Sancho is adapted best to playing on the wing and the right wing. I think him and Vegas, you just don't know, maybe that delivery into the box.
To get 1 or 2 chances if Sancho's on the right. The way I'd like to see us play with a right-footed right winger who can get the ball in the box.
It's if he moves away from that inverted winger, isn't it, though? Because he's happy for that to happen, Ten Hag. He likes that. He looked with Garnacho, he does it with Anthony. You could actually utilise Vegas a little bit more, I think. That's why I went with Sancho on the right in my prediction, what I would do. I mean, a ball into the box, I mean, he fed Haaland before, but He's not Haaland, Weghorst, is he? But he's tall enough to get his head on the ball.
He can certainly win headers without a doubt, yeah.
We get it right
hit the
anyway.
post with an header at weekend. It was this weekend, wasn't it? Or was it last weekend? The matches are all mingling in. He hit the post with an header, didn't he? Was it that?
He did, I think it was weekend.
Yeah, in the first half, yeah.
Yes, it was. It was hit the post. Yeah, so you could say that there is an option there for us to change it up a little bit system-wise as well. But Sancho does add that little bit more. I mean, from what Sancho is and his qualities, would you be okay with him playing in that 10 role every now and then, or mixing it up? Maybe Bruno goes out right. Like we changed the wingers. He started doing that a lot more now. I don't know if you noticed. Rashford spending time on the left and right. Same with Antony. Yeah. Maybe you could do that with the likes of Bruno and Sancho in that 10 and right side, just mixing it up. It's harder to defend against when the player keeps changing in front of you. I know that. Yeah,
that's true. And if Sancho's on the bench as well, you've always got the option. I mean, I know he never does this, but you've got the option to give Bruno a rest. Maybe if one game's been put to bed, try it with the wingers on and with Sancho at 10 instead of Bruno at 10. If we're in front in a game, why not try that one day?
Yep, I teed up the comment section well there, and you all fell hook, line and sinker for it. Weghorst is not Haaland at all. Ha ha ha, what a joke. It's because it was a joke. Well done. That was the one. Man like Sancho sucks nowadays. Wouldn't want him in my team anywhere near soon. Bit harsh. I mean, he has gone through a lot, and I was hoping that reception that he got when he came on against Forest, like Ten Hag said, would have done him the power of good. He did look reasonably sharp, actually, when he came on. I was worried that he was going to be completely off it, but he did look like he had some moments in that game I think would give him a little bit of confidence going forward. But the games that are coming up, Rick, are really important games, crucial games.
And all that.
It's a case of like, throw him in there, sink or swim. There's no easing him back in with the amount of games coming up, is there?
No, I agree. I'd start him tomorrow night on the right wing.
Just get him in and let's just let him do his bit.
I'm sure he'll do well.
I think he'd play so much better on the right-hand side as well. I do. I think he would smash it out on the right-hand side. I think he would just, it would be like, he'd be like a new player on that right, because we've not seen enough of him even under Ollie on the right, I don't think.
No, he's nearly always on the left, wasn't he?
And the only way I'm thinking on that, because we talked about Ten Hag sticking to his inverted wingers, is the fact that, like we said, he has started to switch the wide players in game now.
Yeah, during the game, yeah.
So he is looking at changing it up a little bit. Does that give you confidence that the manager looks like he's been a bit more adaptable with players as well?
Yeah, I'd say so. But yeah, without a doubt.
Except putting Bruno on the right. I don't
like that.
I don't want that. I'm not for that. I understand in certain games how he can give us that extra man in the middle against good teams like City, and it did work in that game. We did have that extra body which stifled Manchester City. Kieran's in with super chats. Our Flair players will get under Leeds players and fans. Big game for Antony. Kieran is injured. I don't know if you've seen the press conference earlier on, so he's out of this game. I do believe it. I think it would have been an all right game for Antony, actually. That's the way Leeds play. But then again, like we said, we don't know how they're going to play now.
I think he's been playing all right, Antony. I think he'd have been okay.
He's been getting better. What do you? Before we go, we talked about it before. It was a shame he's come out for this game because he was building a decent relationship with Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah.
See how strong Rashford and Shaw are on the left. It was nice seeing. Actually, it was nice seeing a partnership on the right hand side that was starting to get better as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, really. But you know, it's a shame for Antony, but it's a bonus for Sancho if he plays. Let's see how he does.
Hopefully Sancho does play. Guys, get your score predictions in the comment section right now before we finish up. Let me know how you're feeling, your confidence. I know there's a few ifs and buts about the game on Sunday, but in terms of tomorrow night, are we getting the win? 5 points off Arsenal if we win, Rick.
Amazing.
Level on points with City if we win tomorrow.
Amazing.
And their game in hand is Arsenal against City.
Yeah.
So it just shows how crucial tomorrow's game is, just to put that bit of pressure on.
Yeah.
Aim for the top, finish comfortable fourth is what I say.
That'd do, yeah. Or third.
That'll do. And then when City get kicked out, we'll take second, eh? We'll take that. 3-0, 2-0, 2-0, lots of clean sheets. No threat from Leeds by these comments coming in, Rick. 4-0, 5-0. I just don't see United getting the 4s and 5s this season. Just the way it's going, we're lacking goals, aren't we? I just don't see us getting that many. People are asking for Ricky's prediction. Oh, Rick, they've asked you. I know you don't like doing it, but you're going to have to do it now.
I'll go 2-1 for United.
2-1. Rick's committed. Watch that go up now in the bookies. That'll go to favourite result now that Rick said that, I'm telling you. Guys, that pretty much is everything. We've wrapped the whole show up there. We've talked about plenty. City's demise, or allegedly demise. We'll see what happens with that. That's going to pan out over the next few months, I think. Manchester United's out list. Comment in the comment section if you are just tuning into this video after it's finished on the live stream. Let me know what you think. Obviously, comment on the game tomorrow as well. Who's your team? Who are you starting? What score do you think it will be? Are you confident going into this week? By the end of it, we'll know where we stand, and then it's into Barcelona, mate. Yes. Excited for Barca?
Looking forward to it, mate. Yeah, really looking forward to it.
We'll all be there from the United stand as well, so it's going to be an epic week. Cheers for watching, everybody. That is it for now. Do like, share and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell notification so you know when all this fresh content is coming up. You'll get that notification on your phone or your laptop or wherever you are. But for now, Rick, cheers for coming on.
Thank you, mate. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
We'll see you all tomorrow night for the Leeds game. See you later, everybody.